is that when you're in a space, in the absence of fact, you put your view of the world into a space. But that view of the world may not be based on fact. It might just be a story, or you might be listening to the what ifs that you're coming up with, but you're not taking any action. So none of this is going to happen. So there's an element of what's the space that you're creating. Then often what you'll find is that anxiousness, that overwhelm, that frustration, they don't exist. It's just what we are making things mean that are coming up in our space.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Clients, Less Effort. I am your host, Tim Hyde, and I'm joined today by the amazing Paul Farmer. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Now, you are not your standard business mind. You think differently and cut through the noise to reset what's possible. Paul's built a reputation for as a business mentor responsible for getting the best out of business owners. His calm and measured ways create a safe environment where growth is delivered for any business or large organisation. Now, mate, you've had a varied career. Probably one of the few accountants I have come across who I could rightfully say could give business advisory, which is unusual, isn't it, right? Because I think CPAs particularly have sort of claimed this business advisory tag, but probably not many of them know how to run an effective business.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting one because there's an element of compliance. I have a CPA. I've been a CPA for 28 years, but I don't practice accounting as such. I don't do tax returns. I don't do financial statements, but I leverage the background knowledge I have to be able to then help business owners see what's possible to be able to reshape the way that they operate. So, in terms of, I take a space where business owners, and I'll give you an example. I was just literally talking to a business owner who they've had one of their partners leave their business. And so that partner was someone who had a significant impact on the strategy of the business. They're not part of the business anymore. So now we've got those that are remaining sitting there going, so what do we do now? How do we reset? Or what is the process? Because someone has been quite dominant in the way that they've been setting their strategy. Now we've got those that are left. It's like, well, what do we do? Do we have to do what they said? What do we do? And the answer was, to them, we don't know, but we need to reach out to someone who may know. And so they rang me because I'd known them previously. So for me, I've become a resource for business owners to be able to reset what's possible. What does that mean? It means that I sit outside the business independent. And over the 28 years of being a CPA, having worked in Brisbane, the UK, worked in oil and gas for Shell, Petro-Canada, Repsol, larger organisations, to be able to step into a space where I'm sitting outside a business that can be anything from sort of $1.5 million turnover business up to whatever. I sit outside, and rather than me being the consultant, so to speak, I just facilitate a conversation with them around A, what they want their business to be, B, where they are, and C, what the difference is and what needs to shift to be able to help them create a business that they want on their terms. And I often use the phrase, my house, my rules, because a lot of the time we have to make our business fit into what everyone else wants. And as we were just talking about, no, it's your business.
Thinking this thing we're creating, we've talked about this on previous episodes of this show, this thing we create is entirely up to you, what it looks like, how it works, what it does, who it serves,
beautiful,
where it serves them.
But when you lose sight of the fact that it's your business, a lot of the time that expectation management is about, well, if I manage expectations both internally and externally to my business to the way we want the business to run, maybe people will stop turning up.
Before I drill into how you got into this space, I want to ask the question, why does that happen? And what are maybe the early warning signs that someone's business is getting off track and they're wagging a dog rather than the dog wagging them?
Bingo, tail wagging the dog. I love it. That space there, how do they know? And this is probably something that may differentiate me from accountants, traditional, in terms of the thing that I find in that space is when someone has a business that doesn't feel and doesn't make them feel good, that's one of the signs that something isn't the way that they want.
Isn't that just something that everybody gets into? You wake up one day and go, oh, fuck, I don't like my business today. And then tomorrow's fine because you've just got 3 clients. You know, but if you feel like that more often, is that the warning sign?
When you're in a space where it's consistently feeling like, is this really the thing that do I have the energy to be able to go and do this again and again and again and again? And generally what I find is when people get to a point where they go, no, or I want something different, but I don't know how to make it happen. That's the piece where people go, hey, Farms, can we have a conversation because nothing's changing and I want something different, but I don't know how to change it and I don't know what to do. Yeah?
Yeah.
So for me, that's what shows up.
How do people get into that state?
They get in there easily because, let's be honest, it's a story. It's a story that we tell ourselves is overwhelm is, and I won't say in every situation because I generalized once and, not knowing the situation of a certain person. So in terms of generally what I see is that when you're in a space, in the absence of fact, you put your view of the world into a space. But that view of the world may not be based on fact. It might just be a story, or you might be listening to the what ifs that you're coming up with, but you're not taking any action. So none of this is going to happen. So there's an element of what's the space that you're creating. Then often what you'll find is that anxiousness, that overwhelm, that frustration, they don't exist. It's just what we are making things mean that are coming up in our space. So for example, last week I had a client who wasn't getting any results, or they just didn't feel like they were moving. And so I said, so how does that feel? And they said, oh, yeah, it feels terrible. And so I said, well, what action are you taking? They said, well, we've got these projects, but they've sort of been pushed out. And I said, so what action are you taking? And they said, we're kind of not. I said, A, can you see why your space is not moving? And B, can you see why you're feeling frustrated because you want something different, but you're not taking any action to make any of that happen? So you're frustrated, you're not getting the results, but you're not doing anything about it. And I have this saying, which unless you're taking action, you don't earn the right to whinge and bitch and moan about something unless you are taking action.
Yeah, I see a lot of that, with clients that we work with. The before state is always, I want more sales. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, nothing. I go, well, that's probably part of the problem.
Yeah, it's like, you'd like more sales. Well, what are the conversations that you're having? Oh, well, I'm not. It's like, is there any reason why you expect that? Yeah, true. And so a lot of what we do is we just simplify it. It's the overcomplication of what could be or what should be or expectation. We just rip it apart and just go, you know what, if you want more sales, what are you doing to have more sales? If the answer is, oh, nothing, or I'm not sure, or whatever, I would just say, well, right, well, what do you want to get more sales? This, and this. So either A, what conversations are you having? B, are you the person who can help go out and make that happen? C, do you realize that there are people that can actually do that on your behalf? And they go, oh, really? I had a guy who had debt, outstanding debt. And I said, you do know there are people that can collect debt for you? And he said, oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, would you like me to connect you with someone? Because I have someone that I know. So he went, sure.
Just the guys that don't know what you don't know, right?
Also,
if you've got the problem in business, someone else has had it before you. And if more than 2 people have had the problem, there will be someone who solves that problem for money.
Totally. And so a lot of the time it's I don't know, but the answer is so simple that, I have conversations with clients and they sit there and they go, that's so simple. I said, yeah. They said, I can't believe I didn't know that. And then they start judging themselves. It's like, hang on. I said, you didn't know that existed until now. I said, don't judge yourself. Just take what you've got and take action and make something else out of it.
There is definitely an element of vulnerability that's needed at those stages of growth, isn't there? Right? It's a reflection and go, hey, I don't have all the answers myself, but there are people who can help me to get that answer.
And so being in a space where you're okay being vulnerable, that's where most growth comes from, I'll be honest. Where I see business owners going on a journey of, and to be honest, I'll generalize again, most blokes sit there and they just go, I've got to have all the answers and I've got to know everything. And if I don't know, then I've got to do it myself or whatever. And you sit back and as soon as you make it okay to not know everything and be okay to be able to go, actually, you know what? I'm not the best at that, but is there someone else in my circle that I know who might be better than I am at that? And am I able to have a conversation with that element there? It opens up opportunities as opposed to I've just got to keep bashing my head against the wall because that's what we do.
Yeah. Do you find there's a particular sort of, I guess, phase of business growth or business size where these issues tend to come up more often, or is it different from everybody?
I think they come up at a couple of stages. In that $1 million turnover, a lot of the time what you find is you've got people that are 1, 2, maybe 3 people in the business. Then they're at a point where they're going, now I feel like I'm going to have to add 2, 3, 4 more people to the business. And they go, well, I'm not an HR specialist. I'm not a people specialist. I don't know how to make this happen. And I feel like I'm going to lose control because I'm then going to have more than just the 2 people and me who are running the business. Yeah. So that's one. Then you get to a point where it's probably around 3 million. Again, there's another point where you go from having maybe a team of 10 or so. You've then got to go into the next level to be able to say, well, we're looking to go. And then what it means is that they get to a point where it's like, what is my definition of growth? And do I have the energy and do I have the desire to take this business and turn it into something bigger than what I currently have?
Yeah.
And depending on how they answer that.
It's a scary proposition, isn't it? Actually kind of building what is really a business that allows you to step away from it. Because I know a lot of people, certainly, and I see this in networking circles, because networking is, is a free activity. In theory, that people sort of get into this space and they go, I don't really want to build a business. It's just me, or it's just me and a virtual assistant. I don't really want to, I don't want to build a big business. Why do people have that mindset and perhaps fear of getting to those stages you talk about?
Well, 2 things. One is it may be that they're okay with what they've got. They may not want to have, they may have worked in environments where they've managed 10, 20, 30, 40 people. And they've just gone, and an example last week, there was a business owner in a workshop I ran. He sat there and he said, you know what? He said, I've managed teams of 30 and 40. And he said, I've just got to a point where I don't fancy it. He said, I do a certain amount of activity. He said, I work from home. I've got client lists and I've got all of that. He said, I do what I do. I network and whatever. But he said, I'm not looking to incrementally grow. The week before, talking to another business owner who said, you know what, if we can continue to turn over that $2 million a year with the team that we've got and the clients that we work with, he said, if we can keep bringing in quality clients, he said, I'm not looking to go to that $4, $5, $6 million. He said, I'm good because it gives me the ability to be flexible around where I spend my time, not having to constantly be in the business without having time for family and flexibility and all that sort of stuff. So for them, and this is one of the things that I often find, is that people aren't, their view of growth is determined by the expectations of others, looking at them going, oh, if you're not growing, you're going backwards. As simple as that. So a guy down in Melbourne, he said, oh, I want 20 trucks. I've now got 13. I want 20. I said, why? And he said, oh, we do this, 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 and this. And I said, well, that's great. I said, but at the moment, your family hates you. Is that going to give you more time to allow you to be able to spend more time with your family? And he said, no, but if I don't do that, I'm not growing. I said, well, whose definition of growth says you have to have an extra 7 trucks on the road, plus 2 admin people, plus all the clients, plus all the people driving the trucks, plus all the suppliers who have to supply all the gear? What's saying you need all of that to be able to grow? I said, what if you could take your business, keep it as it is, and add 5% profitability, but not have to do more work? I said, that could be 200 to 300 grand a year with the same team that you've got. And at that point, it was, you don't know what you don't know, because he went, well, I can do that.
Possibly. Let's take a look and see what's possible.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It is actually sort of stepping back and having a really good external advisor come back and give perspective, because we do get into the weeds a lot, and we lose that perspective, don't we?
Context is a beautiful thing, because you can sit there and the question of, for what purpose do I want to take my business from 2 million to 4 million? Why? Some people sit there and go, well, if I'm not doing that, am I going to set something up that I can sell one day, or am I going to get a better ROI, or all of the element of justifying why bigger is better? But often it's the hardest thing for a lot of business owners is to sit there and go, you know what, I'm okay with what I'm doing at the moment and what I've got. If the external world, and even if you look at what Google business growth, it says more, 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 and more. And it's all about more, as opposed to, well, what's more doesn't necessarily, it could be relevant. Something that's more relevant. I'm going to look at the clients that we work with.
Yeah.
If I do, again, another example, if the client had $1 million worth of overheads and the work they were doing was 10% margin, I said, so you're going to do $10 million to break even. What's your capacity? And he said, 3.5. I said, can you see why you're losing money? He went, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know. He said, oh, but why did my accountant not tell me that? I said, because you didn't ask. And he went,
yeah. And your accountant didn't think to ask. That brings me back to my earlier question. As a CPA, you would have started your career in the compliance space doing exactly that thing where you go, I don't care what the numbers are, I'm just literally going to process them and away we go. And if my client loses money, so be it. But I've ticked my box of tax compliance and you're all up to date and I submitted your BAS and everything as well. What was it about the strategy space that really attracted you to kind of start working into that? And tell me about the opportunities that sort of presented themselves for you to do so.
Oh, so when I was working back in the accounting space, I saw doing the compliance work as a means to get to the stuff that I actually love, which is the strategy piece. That was the piece where I'd sit down, and in the firm one of the firms I worked for, we would be responsible for the accounting piece. We'd then sit down with a financial planning partner and we'd do the strategy around how do we maximize their personal wealth. And that conversation, to me, that was my jam. That was I used to look forward to those conversations. I couldn't do it until I'd done the other stuff, but getting through the other stuff to get to that conversation, and then clients had come in, and seeing clients' faces open up when they could have had the littlest of little sized businesses or tax returns or whatever, but having them come in and see them light up when you provided them an opportunity to see what's possible for them and what it is that they had. That, for me, that was the piece. And it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years ago that I realized that was the thing back then that I loved to do. The means to the end was just the compliance, but then sitting down with others, and I was always thinking about opportunities to be able to say, how do you make that better? That curious nature of, yes, I'm doing a bucket load of compliance and getting it right and whatever, but what about that? What if we did this? What about this? And all of a sudden, that then opened up conversations that you'd go, oh, actually, well, if we did this, that's the benefit that could turn up. It's like, oh, I can do that. Easy. And off they go. So that, I suppose for me, that curiosity, that curious nature of what's possible, and asking the question of, okay, well, this is what we have, but if we could do different, what would be possible? That then, again, I look at all the work that I've done here, oil and gas. I mean, we were doing, setting out a 10-year strategic forecast for Petro-Canada, and we were looking at oil futures and whatever, but it was just, you'd look at it and you go, well, what's possible? Even in this, it's like, what is possible, as opposed to, this is showing up. It's like, what's not possible? Well, let's look at the possibility. That, for me, really came through in what I do now, which is, as I say, I literally help others see what's possible and then go, right, is it me that's going to help them make that happen? If it relates to CRMs and lead generations, not a chance in hell. It's not my jam. But if I can strategically set them up, so then they go, right, well, this is what you're looking to do. What is it you need, and who do you need in your space to be able to make that happen? And then connect.
Yeah. Now you've got a group growth program to help people rapidly grow their business in 10 months. So we are talking.
Yes.
More, yeah. But it's not just more top line revenue, is it? It's also more profitability, more fine. The fulfillment from it is that your business And I agree. I totally agree. I can see it's a real passion of yours in the way you speak about going, here is this thing that you are wrangling to try to get to where you want it to go, to deliver this lifestyle that you want. And maybe if we just pull back the curtain a bit, as I can see the painting behind you, just pull back that curtain a little bit to go.
Yeah.
Look at what we've got here.
Right. Interestingly enough, that painting, as anyone who walks in the door, the first question is, so what does that mean? And it's interesting. I had a client walk in and they said, well, at the moment, I feel like I want to pull that curtain back and shut up the noise outside. Others walk in and go, oh, let's uncover the music and let's see what greatness is in behind the curtain. So again, depending on what space you're in, it's that element of going, you're right. You don't know what you don't know. I jokingly, before any conversations I have, it's like, I'm not here to give psychological advice, but 90% of what I do is sit and ask questions around what's going on in someone's space.
Absolutely. Talk to me about how Mentorist Group do it, right? So I know you're not using a huge amount of automation in your business yet. But tell me about your approach to this whole client attraction, conversion, retention process. Let's fall apart the Mentorist system.
So we have, and I'll be honest, we have a very basic system. A lot of our interaction with the outside world is via social media. So a lot of social media using again basic tools in that space. Canva to produce the posts, LinkedIn, Instagram, Business Suite to be able to then post those, schedule those. So I post every day and weekends, but predominantly Monday to Friday. And about 2 years ago, made a conscious effort to be able to post every day. But then in the last 6 months, I've just become really focused around becoming more direct, because that's the way that I feel people need things at this point in time. So from an online perspective, then a lot of referrals that come through will be via the social media space.
Okay, so the content is really driving the referral engine more so than...
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's right.
I think a lot of people think, I'm just going to throw content out like Burley to, attract clients, but it can attract strategic partners as well.
It can. And so the last 3 months in particular, I've become really, and I'll use the phrase punchy, but I've become really punchy about how, and then the content that I use and the wording that I use, because it's become really specific around the pain points that people are feeling at the moment. And to be honest, it's about feeling. Yeah. It's about people are starting to feel tired, that they've been, for example, if they've been using advisors for a period of time and the advisors aren't leaning in and doing what they say they would do, historically, people have gone, it's all right, we'll give them an extra whatever. Now they're just going, no, enough. This is what I signed up for. I'm not getting it. Let's have a conversation about what it looks like. And so what I'm finding is that element of working longer with people are starting to get to a point where they're just going, you know what, I'm going to have a conversation because I just don't feel like what is showing up is what we agreed back when we agreed it. And so there's a feeling in the environment that the external environment is becoming even more challenging from a people perspective and a cash perspective.
What's your process around managing those strategic partnerships?
So I do an element of networking, but strategically, I'll check in with each of my referral partners at least once a month.
Is that just a diary event? You just tick in your calendar and practice of going, met with them, next event?
Pops up. Hopefully none of them actually watch this, because then I'll sit there and go, is that what you do? Jesus, I thought it was complex. No, it goes into my Outlook calendar and just pops up.
So it's the thing, right? We don't necessarily need to create super complex systems. We just need to create a system that allows to drive behavior.
And the other thing that I do is most Monday mornings, I'll just send out a little quote to a list of people who I feel are either clients or they're people that I feel that's going to add benefit to their space. And it's just a little touch point just to get them get them going on a Monday morning. But I will, once a month, I will connect with referral partners, either face to face. I mean, I am here in Brisbane in the city, so yep. I will either touch base or I'll send them a little text message, just go, hey, just checking in, see how things are going. And often they'll go, oh, actually, you were on my list of things to do, but I didn't do it, or I haven't done it, or I got busy, or rah.
Yeah,
and it's just
well,
that.
I think the referral engine, right? From a marketing context, and it's something that we talk to our clients about. If we're going to build a referral engine for you, right, through strategic partnerships or through customers, one of the boxes that we need to tick for you is the ability to stay top of mind, because you will not get referred if you are not top of mind with a person when they come across an opportunity for you.
And interestingly enough, part of the conscious effort around social media is exactly that front of mind. The amount of people that they see me and run into me, and it's like they sit there and they go, mate, you're everywhere. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
sure we are.
It's like yes we are. But again, conscious, because a lot of the visibility that then allows, rather than having to be at a million places at once, it opens up the visibility to be able to be in front of people, but not have to be physically in front of people.
Well, social media algorithms particularly sort of done that, right? If you start watching cat memes, you'll see your news feed very quickly dominated by cat memes. If you start following US politics, your feed will be dominated by US politics, right? The stuff that you engage with, you'll be shown more of. And so by appearing in your client's feed or your partner's feed on a regular basis, if they engage with it in any capacity, you'll get shown to them more.
Bingo. Totally. And so, as I say, that as a way to be able to grow, then it's been conscious about the content that has been hitting social media. But again, it's one of those elements just to go, it's a touch point, whether they engage or not on there. At the end of the day, to me, it's not I need to get likes, I need to whatever. But all it's doing, it's just allowing people to be able to see what's going on. And whenever I bump into someone in the street, they sit there and go, mate, I know exactly what you're up to because I can see it.
Yeah.
Like, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, something that we occasionally do for our clients is, build that content engine so that it is top of mind.
Yeah.
Top of mind. Well, we usually finish the show with a bit of a quick fire. We haven't warned you about this one, so you don't know.
I love this.
What questions I'm going to ask. We've got to put you on.
I love this. So to be honest, when I run most of my workshop, most of my strategy sessions or client sessions, I have a client who literally he turns up. He says, "I got no idea what we're going to talk about," and he said at the end of 2 hours, I've got everything covered off that I need to cover off. And I said, mate, I'll be honest, I don't know what we're going to talk about either. But all I ask is a question. And then all of a sudden we start to go places. And then after the end of 2 hours, we've gone wherever you want to go. And he goes,
okay, we'll take the pill and we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
That's it.
What is one lesson your career has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point of their life?
Nothing changes if nothing changes.
True. So true. What other occupation other than your current one would you like to try?
Professional golfer on the seniors tour.
Okay. How would you like to be remembered?
Good question. I got emotional then. That got me just there. For someone who cared.
What's motivating your team right now?
Managing the feeling in others.
Yeah. What's a business book that you reckon every small business owner should read?
Can I give you two?
You can give me two.
What? One is Perform Under Pressure by Kerry Evans. He's the psychologist for the All Blacks. The second one is a book called 23 Reminders, which is written by a guy called Paul Farmer, which is a coffee table book.
Love it. Presumably you can buy one of those through your website, I hope.
23publishing.com.au. You can soft cover and hardcover, and an ebook as well.
There you go. Outside of business, what do you think life will look like in 50 years' time?
Life will be easier, but harder.
Okay. Explain that.
Easier. So automation. Automation will make things easier, but it will be harder because people won't know how to do the hard things because everything's become easier. So I look back 50 years and it was all manual. Everything was done hard. It's got easier. It's just going to get easier, but it's going to be harder because people are losing the fact that there is elements of hard before it's easy. And so I look at some of the stuff that you guys do, which is beautiful and it's perfect, but what it's doing is it's simplifying things for others, but when they don't have to do the hard stuff, they think it's easy, but when they have to do the hard stuff, that's hard. It's like, oh, hang on, it's supposed to be easy. So it's going to become easier, but it's going to get harder because people are less prepared to do the hard stuff because it's easier to get whatever it is they're trying to get.
I think you're very right there. As you say in the notes, you shot over to me before our podcast recording today. We create all of what shows up in our space, and we always have a choice of where things are going to next. The options may not be beautiful or easy, but we always have a choice.
Yeah, choice, bro.
Choice, bro. On that note, mate, thanks for joining us on today's show. Guys, you can find more about Paul and the amazing work he does over at mentorsgroup.com. There's some awesome events you've got coming up, mate, and definitely encourage people to get involved in your community if they want to sort of look at that rapid growth schedule and maybe thinking a little bit outside the box in how someone might get there. You can find information over at Advents Mentoris Group, Mentoris Group.com. Paul, thanks again for joining us on the show and sharing some of what you're working on over at the Mentoris Group.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks, T.
Take care. All right, guys, if you like today's show, please like, subscribe, share, all those cool things. Hit the 3 dots on your favorite podcast app and do that. There should be some options there for you. Hopefully we'll catch you on another episode of More Clients, Less Effort real soon. Take care.